Yeah.
Hi guys, it's Megan with Loserly VSG, and this is seriously like the third time I'm filming this video today. I've had a lot of technical difficulties, and I'm doing it on a different device. I usually do it on a laptop, and I'm on an iPhone now. So if I start looking all over, it's because I'm forgetting to look here at this camera, and it's a little blurry. There we go. Okay, so today I wanted to talk to you guys a little more about the seminar that I had to go to and the different appointments that I have had pre-op. So the seminar is done by my doctor. It is required before you can even have a meeting with him. It was in the evening. It was 2 hours long. It's basically just generic information about the different types of surgeries that they offer. He did touch on the lap band, but he does not do the lap band any longer. So there's the sleeve, the gastric bypass, the dual switch, and I think there was one more, but I cannot remember the name. And I forgot to look in the book before I came down here to film. So he touched on complications, which would be like blood clots, ulcers, leaks, and he talked a lot about how he prevents leaks. And so that was one of my deciding factors of why I wanted him to be the surgeon, is because I felt very comfortable with how he prevents leaks. So fingers crossed, no leaks for me. And as long as you're up walking like you're supposed to, blood clot shouldn't be an issue either. He did talk about, with the sleeve, acid reflux could be an issue, especially if you already have acid reflux. But even if you don't, there is a small chance you could develop it. But of course, there's medication for that, so it shouldn't be an issue either. They talked about loans. Well, they didn't really talk about loans. They just talked about pamphlets that they offered for different companies that do loans for people that are paying out of pocket, or maybe their insurance doesn't cover a big chunk of it. And so I took some of the pamphlets, I gave them to my dad and my husband to look at, and they're like 18% interest rate, so, and it's like payback within a year. So if you can pay over $10,000 with interest back in a year, then I guess that's the deal for you, but I think it's pretty lame. That they even offer something like that, because it's not really helpful. So no, that did not help me. If I look down here, it's because I have a list of stuff about these different things. So when I walked in, there's just this big whiteboard in front of us, and it had a list of all these different diagnoses, like high blood pressure, diabetes, stuff like that. And he made a point where, like, if you get the weight loss surgery, you have this percentage of a chance for these things to be cured. And I mean, it was high, and it's quick too, like within a few days. So that was amazing. I don't have any, they call them comorbidities. I don't have any of those. I just have a BMI that meets the requirements. So luckily, but still, it was pretty amazing. He said something that like really hit me to the core, in my core, to my soul, got me to my soul. I don't know. It really got to me. He said for people that have a BMI over 40, your only real chance to lose the weight that you need to is going to be given to you with weight loss surgery. And I agree with that. Like I've said in the past, I mean, I have been working on this for 20 some years, and I truly do believe like this is the tool that's going to get me to where I need to be. So that was pretty much it with the seminar. So once you have the seminar, then you can schedule the next meeting, which is one meeting with the physician, the physical therapist, and the nutritionist. And it's supposed to take about 2.5 hours, but because they were so impressed with me, mine was less than an hour. So I was eating the food I was supposed to. I was exercising like I was supposed to. So they didn't really have much direction to give me or much to talk to me about, but first, the physician came in. He gave me a pretty generic spiel that he had already given at the seminar about what the sleeve is, what he's going to do. He did mention a catheter, which I didn't know about, and I never had one, so it seemed pretty scary to me. You know, the only two things that I'm really worried about in this like this whole surgery thing is an IV, because they scare me and they hurt, and a catheter. I've never had one. And when they put it in, I'll be asleep, which is creepy in itself. But when I wake up, it will be there, and I'll be awake when they take it out. And I don't know. People say it's not that bad, but if that's all I got to worry about, or that's all I worry about, then I consider it a win. And then he gave me some time to ask him some questions. I know I had like 4 written down, but the only one I can remember is retaining fluids from the IV, because when I was in labor for 14 plus hours, I didn't lose all of the fluid, and it stuck on me. And 2 days after leaving the hospital, I was in the beginning stages of heart failure, and I had to be taken by ambulance, and I had to stay in the hospital. And I mean, it was pretty serious. And so I didn't want to run into that again. So I mentioned it to him during that visit, and he kind of just said, oh, we're not going to be dealing with anything that exciting, and just kind of let it go from there. But I am going to bring it up again in my next visit, because it is something that worries me, and I want to prevent it if we can. And then the nutritionist came in. She brought me this huge book that they call the Bible, and it has all information about the surgery you're choosing, the foods, your nutrients, your vitamins, the complications, places to take notes. But basically, she just went over the food stages. Like, after surgery, you'll be on this kind of food, and then this week you'll be on this kind of food. And she'd have me highlight some important sections and cross out some other sections. And something big that she hit on was, I know that in this stage it says you can have oatmeal, but really that's not a good choice because of the carbs. And I agree, because you have an 18-month span to lose the most weight that you possibly can. Not saying that you won't lose weight after the 18 months, but just within that 18-month window, you are supposed to lose a ton of weight. And I don't want to sabotage that by eating foods like oatmeal and whatever else. Carby foods, I don't need. So I agree with that. That's all she pretty much went over with me. And then the physical therapist came in, and I had heard that physical therapists were going to make you walk the halls and do all this different stuff with this oxygen monitor on you, and that wasn't the case at all. He came in, he talked to me about where I was from, he high-fived me on the exercises I was already doing, and that was basically it. So that was easy. And then came the psych appointment. So first of all, finding a psychiatrist as a new patient who's never seen one before is pretty much impossible. Like, you couldn't get scheduled for months out. So I went ahead and scheduled one for like the end of October, which I was scared was not going to get me a surgery at the end of December like I needed. So I kept looking, and I found a guy close to me who was willing to let me come in like 2 days after I made the appointment. So I was like, oh, great, let's do this. And his voice freaked me out a little bit on the phone, but I was like, you know what, if he's licensed and he can sign a paper and I can get the surgery going, then we'll just, get through it quickly. Well, when I got there, it was just this little office, and it was an okay office, but his room was the only thing there, and I could hear everything him and the patient before me were talking about. And then, of course, I saw the lady when she came out, and when I went into the room with him, he was like, oh, I just had to deal with this bipolar issue. And I thought, dude, if I knew this lady and you're telling me there was a bipolar issue, you just broke HIPAA. Like, you can't do that. So that made me feel real safe. Not that I care. I don't have anything to hide, so I don't care what people know, but other people probably do care. So that wasn't okay. I honestly don't really remember a lot of the questions he asked me. I know in the beginning he was just trying to get to know me, ask me about my job, where I live, stuff like that. And then when he got to asking me about why I wanted to have this surgery, I was talking to him about like what I've told you guys, just to live a healthier life, be there for my daughter. And I started to cry a little bit, and then he just seemed so concerned, like, well, why are you crying now? Why? And I said, well, because I cry anytime I talk about my daughter. Like, I love her very much, and I want to be here for her. And, but no, he didn't like that answer. He wanted to dig a little bit more on that. So I was like, fine, okay, dig away. And then he was asking me about what foods I ate as a child. And I don't remember. Like, I know that my mom made a lot of chicken breast and we still give her a hard time about that now. But that's all I really remember. Like, he just thought it was he said, you don't know what snacks you had as a child? Like, no, I have no idea. Like, I know now my parents have a lot of Cheez-Its and Oreos in the house, so maybe that's what I snacked on. I don't know. Like, but he was real concerned about that also. And then he asked me about what my husband thought about the surgery. And I explained, like, in the beginning, he was kind of against it because he didn't understand and he was scared. And he honestly didn't want my body to change. And he just stopped and with, like, the most disgusted look on his face said, he likes your body. And for a moment, like, I felt embarrassed to believe that anybody would like my body. But when I told him yes, he was like, oh, he just has to say that, you know, so that you don't get mad at him. He just agrees. And he just kind of laughed, and like, this has happened to me a lot in my life. Not people telling me that my husband doesn't like my body, but people just saying like hateful things and just kind of giggling it off. And it makes me kind of freeze inside. And I just kind of smile and hope it passes. Like, sometimes I can't believe that people say the things that they do, but they do. So yeah, he told me that my husband doesn't really like my body and he just pretends to like it. Even though he met me like this and he married me like this. But I thought on that for a couple of days. Like, this is supposed to be a professional that you go to for help. And so if I wasn't a very strong person and he would have told me this, and that really would have gotten in my head, like, I really could have needed a psychiatrist after that. And maybe that was his plan, to get me to come back, to get him, you know, some more money, but it didn't work. And he ended up signing the paper at the end. He wrote on the paper, like, he thought I was above average intelligence and blah, blah, blah. He made me mail the paperwork myself. Actually, I took mine and somebody else's envelopes and had to mail them, and not like in his office, drop them off at a mailbox, like drive through town and put this stuff in a mailbox. So if I really wanted to, I could have opened that other person's envelope and read all about them. And he only took cash. So I don't know. I checked his credentials, and he is licensed, so I don't know. Anyway, so I had told my husband, I said, so this psychiatrist seems to think that you don't really like my body, that you just say that you do. You just agree that you do. And Josh got really mad. Like, he wanted to go to that guy's office and give him a piece of his mind or his fist. I don't know. But he just was like, how dare him say that to you? Or how dare him, you know, put those thoughts in your head, or even make you think that, like, he doesn't know me and he doesn't know my thoughts and he has no right to say this stuff. And I had told Josh, like, there are just people in this world that think that skinny is beautiful. And if you're not skinny, then no one would want you or like you. And that's fine. Like, I can't control what other people think, and I can only control how, you know, I react to those kind of things. And so, yeah, I think if Josh still had the chance, if he saw this guy in public, he'd probably still give him a piece of his mind. That bothered him a lot, and it wasn't right. So that sucks, but it's over with, and I got a surgery date. So once the psych signs off and your doctor receives that paperwork, then they will schedule with you. So then I scheduled the December 27th, and now we just wait. And I have another appointment next week. Hopefully I can get some like video footage of what's going on there, or at least take some pictures. Sometimes my hospital is pretty crabby with the video situation, so we will see. One thing I didn't know about whenever I started this process, and the doctor didn't talk about, but I've just kind of learned along the way, is your hair is probably going to fall out in big chunks. And if you don't have thick hair, like me, I don't have a lot to spare. I mean, you could probably lose a lot of your hair to where it's pretty noticeable. So I've thought about this a lot. And as much as I love my hair, I mean, it's just hair. And I've got to get this healthy life before everything else. So if you see me balding, you know, a few months in, I already know. And I've bought every shampoo and vitamin and spray cover up that I can, but you know, I might be rocking a wig one day. So just tell me my hair looks good and just move along, because I already know. But it will grow back. It's just because in the beginning you lack some nutrients. I think that's what I've heard. I don't know if people really know why their hair falls out, but I'm a little nervous about that too, but I shall live. All right, guys, that's all I got for you. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next week. Thanks.